This is a true story. At the end of my Air Force 4 years, we are all packed up. The children that weren't here 2 years ago are in the back seat. Two-years-old and 1-year-old. The car is all packed with the luggage rack on it, suitcases, a few boxes. Some things fit into the trunk, or I should say hood. Since we are driving a Fiat 600, and the year is 1961, June. I had completed my 4 years in the United States Air Force. 3 of them spent at an air training command base in Laredo, Texas. The rest of our things were packed and put into a thing called pod, which the Air Force will pick up and ship it to us in California. So we're heading out of Laredo, back home to Southern California. The first part of the trip was pleasant. The little Fiat took the road as usual with its only, I believe now, 40 horsepower engine, 4-cylinder, rear-mounted engine. And we were going pretty good. The children in the back seat, we laid the back seat out to make a kind of like a oversized bed for them. So while they was awake, they played with their toys and stuff. And of course, they slept a lot. In going up some of the hills, I noticed a little more slowing down with the Fiat, but I was thinking it was due to the extra weight, with the luggage carriage on top. But then it seemed like it was slowing down more. The pickup was not as responsive as it had been. But we were going home now, so we just kept driving. Our stop-off point would have been Lordsburg, New Mexico, where we stayed at a motel there before, and we know the people who own it. So that was really our first destination. However, the car seemed to start stuttering more, and it got kind of nerve-wracking. So we was approaching a town called Alpine, Texas. I believe that's the name of it, Alpine. Pulled in there to a garage. I got out and talked to the man behind the desk and told him the trouble, and he called out a mechanic and himself. Came out, looked at the car. First time we've seen a Fiat like this before. That's what he said. But anyway, he opened the hood up, or I should say the trunk up, to look at the engine. The first thing he did was take out the dipstick. You know, the one that measures the amount of oil you have in the car. And his next explanation was, uh-oh. And he showed me there was foam on the stick, kind of mixed with the oil. And that indicates a head gasket was blown, and therefore water was seeping into the oil, which of course the oil goes all over, and which was the cause of it slowing down. He said we probably need if the you say block or head, anyway, isn't cracked, we can put a new gasket on, but I don't think we have a gasket to fit this car. So I remembered that I had bought some, I forget what they called it, but anyway, it came in with gaskets and other stuff that I had sent away for when we went out, oh man, maybe 3, 4, 6 months ago. And it came in from San Antonio or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I opened the box up that had the gaskets in it. They looked through it and they said, "Oh yeah, here's one." And then lucky, part of the kit they sent me was a head gasket. So I said, "Yeah, we can use this one and we'll fix you up." However, we won't be able to get to that till maybe like 4 or something, 4 or 5, and we'll probably have to stay over to do it. So we'll have to talk to the manager. So the manager came out, looked at it, talked to me a little bit, about where we were coming from. Just got out of the Air Force, trying to get home, and had wife and 2 kids. So I think he kind of felt, compassionate towards us, or sorry for us or something. Anyway, he said, "Yeah, we'll work on it. I'll have one of my mechanics stay over, and we'll fix you up." So I said, "Well, okay." He says, "Yeah, you guys got any place to stay here while we're working on it, with the kids and everything?" I said, "No, we don't know anybody." He says, "Well, we have you can use our facilities here. The waiting room is yours to use as you want. You can pull some chairs together so the kids can have some place to nap on or something." He said, "Yeah, just feel at home there. We don't have too many customers today, but we'll get you up and going." So we did. We stayed in his waiting room. I walked and got some sandwiches for me and my wife, and she took care of the kids with their food. You know, we had bought some of their food with us. So we sat there, and it got, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and we can see them working out there on the Fiat. They got it all finished around 7:30. Up and running, they took it around the block. Said the power was okay, looked like everything went all right. So I paid him. To this day, I can't remember how much. It wasn't a lot. It's just mainly for labor because we had the parts. And anyway, we got in the Fiat and took off. And the car did feel more responsive, just zipping down the road there. Of course, it was night now, and the lights on. Driving. I guess we kind of close to, I think we had passed over into New Mexico by that time. Just out, I can't remember, maybe 200 miles, I don't know, from Lordsburg, New Mexico. And then all of a sudden the car starts slowing down again. Had almost the same reaction. I said, oh no, God. It's dark now. And it seemed like it wasn't too much traffic. It's a main highway, but a few trucks went by, but not too many other people driving. So I kind of pulled the side of the road, shut off everything, opened the back up, and I did what the guy did. I looked at the dipstick. Yep, and there was water in the oil again. I said, what is... At first I thought I got ripped off. I don't know, but how could they make it run so good? And now... and now it's back to where it was. So I pulled off into the desert part, kind of a little farther off the road. We rolled up the windows, pushed the front seat back as far as I could. The kids were sleeping then. And locked the doors. And we spent the night in the desert. Now I got some sleep in, but when I asked my wife, she said she didn't sleep at all that night. So I kind of like, it was dawn. Some trucks were still back on the road. I couldn't remember any trucks that night driving by. I tried to start the car up, and no luck. It wouldn't start at all. So I should say, pushed the car back onto the road, onto the siding of the road. And I told Doris to sit in the driver's seat and you drive. And I'll just stop pushing. So I start pushing the Fiat down the road. And I pushed. And I pushed. I could feel the sun coming up stronger, so it was getting a little hotter. But it was lucky there was no big hills. But so I pushed the car and I pushed it. And then all of a sudden there's a truck came behind me, but he kind of, the other cars would just go on by. This one kind of pulled up behind me and stopped. So I stopped pushing and turned around, and it was one of those kind of little small flatbed type of trucks. 2 guys were in it. They jumped out, asked me what was trouble. Can they give you some help? And I told him that. I told him a quick deal that had blown a head gasket and looked like we blew it again or something. So he checked. One of the guys checked the dipstick for himself, and he kind of put his finger on it and kind of tasted. And he said, yeah, there's water in there for sure. So he says, well, where are you trying to get to? Well, we mentioned to Lordsburg, New Mexico. And he said, well, that's just down the road. We can pull you there, because they couldn't push us there. And we said, well, okay. Excuse me. So they got into the truck, pulled up around in front of us, had some kind of a chain or rope, I can't remember now what, tied it up to us. And they seemed like they knew how to pull a car, because when they started off, it wasn't any jerking. It was just they waited till the tautness of the rope was right, and they started moving slowly. At this time, I was in the driver's seat, so they pulled us to Lordsburg, New Mexico. I believe I told them what the name of the place was going to, but it's right off the highway. They could see it. After some time, we finally got there. They helped us push the Fiat onto the property of the motel, into one of the slots before one of the cabins there was. We went in to register to tell them that we were going to stay that night, maybe a couple of nights, figure what we're going to do. So I went out right away and to tell the guys, I think before we went in, I asked them, I'd like to pay them for their time, and they said, oh, no, that's okay, that's all right. We're glad to do it for you. And so this time I thought, well, maybe I ought to pay for the breakfast or something. So I went out and they were gone. There was no sign of them. I kind of walked out to where the highway edge was and looked down the highway. The truck was kind of big. You should be able to see it. Nothing. I didn't see nothing. Looked the other way, and why they would go the other way. There was nothing that way. There was just no signs of them at all. No signs. So we checked in. So I didn't know what to do, so I just called my dad. Talked to him about it. Told him what happened at the garage there, how they put the new one in, the new gasket. But now that one broke or something. So he said, well, maybe me and your brother can pick you up. But we don't know. I think you can tow the Fiat home. Okay, so we stay there, let's see, for 1 day, 2 days. They got there the third day. On the third day, we looked around to see if we get a good towing connector for my dad's car and the Fiat, the one with the kind of a Y yoke. It turns out that if you use the one with the straight, it tends to, if the car in the back gets off, it flips or something. Anyway, it's not as safe. No one had one to rent and all that. So we end up shipping the Fiat home. And we got it to the train station, the Fiat. And we arranged for shipping the car back to Southern California. The next morning we took off in my dad's car, and my brother, older brother, was there to help drive. Me and Doris and the kids all sat in the back. Needless to say, we got there okay. 2 months after the Fiat got there. I know it's going to take that long, but it got there. But I still think about those 2 guys who came up and got us off of the road there, out of the desert. And I didn't mention before, but they all had beards on. They had beards. They don't look like mountain men. Somebody that you wouldn't want to come in contact with, but they were friendly, courteous. I mean, what more would you want that from someone to help you in need? I thought about those 2 guys coming out of nowhere to help us. I believe that somebody sent them there. You make your own conclusion. But I would always believe that God sent them to help us.